Hello, everybody!
Hey, guys.
Welcome to another episode of Take 47, where today we are continuing the epic three-part series of our Top 10 Movie Showdown.
That's right. Last week we left off with our number 6 picks, so we have 4 left, each of us. And then next week we will deliberate with the final 5.
Yep, and so definitely stay tuned for that, because I feel like the next episode is going to have interesting conversations as to why these 5 movies specifically beat all of the other fantastic ones on our list. And like we said last episode, these, in terms of our top 10 lists, there is no ranking between the 10. You know, our last pick isn't any better than the first one. You know, we're not talking about which one's better and all that stuff. However, in the final 5, next episode,
They will be ranked.
And it's funny, because in this situation, even the lowest one is still fantastic.
Right.
So, you know, it's pretty interesting. So, without further ado, let us dive right into the topic of conversation. We are on our number 4?
Yes.
Or no, is it our...
Of ascending. It's like we've done
Yes.
6, so we're on number 4. Or number 7, depending on the way you want to look at it.
Oh, you're right. Right. Good point. So, it's technically, our number 7 now, right? Because
Yeah.
6 was Jaws.
Yes.
Yes.
6 was Jaws.
All right,
That's
so
where we left off.
let's go. All right,
Let's
so
go.
number 7. What is your pick?
Number 7. My number 7 pick is Shrek 2.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry. Did you just say Shrek 2?
Shrek 2.
No, are you serious right now?
I am actually
No way.
very serious.
Okay, all right.
I wanted to include at least one animated movie on my list, and I was really thinking, like, am I going to choose a Disney movie for the best animated movie? Am I going to choose maybe an anime, like a Studio Ghibli movie? And I landed on Shrek. But not just Shrek the first, because Shrek 1 is phenomenal, you know? It was DreamWorks Fire back at Disney. Lord Farquaad was supposed to be Michael Eisner, I think his name is, and of course Mike Myers does an excellent job with Shrek, and Eddie Murphy with Donkey, and just stellar performances all around. But I think that the second movie really it found the niche that the first movie did. It delivered on the blend of adult humor and child humor that the first one hit on. And then I think that it just really elevated both of those concepts to the next level, because they were coming out the gate with more jokes, better story, better, like, animation quality. And it was just such a... Like, they just hit it out of the park for me. I have such fond memories watching that movie. Like, I'll still sit down to watch Shrek 2. It's just a wholesome, good time. And what more can you ask for in a movie?
I'm going to be 100% real with you. That literally came out of nowhere. I don't know necessarily what I expected from you. I don't know, like, maybe I expected, like, a weird movie or something. However, I mean, what? I'm not disagreeing with you, but what I think is funny is that, like, we went from Jaws, like, ending with Jaws last week,
Shrek
like,
2.
yeah, my next pick is Shrek 2. It's, like, it's very, very weird. But I mean, I do agree with you that it is a very good movie. I agree that, you know, Shrek 2 I probably have a little bit more of a fond memory of than the first one. Obviously, that's not saying the first one's bad.
No, I don't think so at all.
Yeah, no, but I've always liked the second one. I mean, it's been, even now, it's been solidified as, like, this mega meme movie.
It is turned into a huge meme.
Yeah, like, everything about it is, like, a huge meme. Like, Human Shrek is a meme. Like, all that stuff is a meme.
Sexy donkey.
Yeah, it really does have very funny moments. And Shrek is, it's honestly, it's easy to forget that the Shrek, at least for me, at least, it's 1 through 3.
Are the good ones?
Yeah.
And then...
Like, the fourth one, I guess, is okay, but, I mean, I guess none of them have been unbearable. But that being said, like...
None of them have been unbearable, but they really dropped off.
Yeah. Honestly, even after the second one, it's like they really did drop off.
Yeah.
But it is easy to forget that Shrek 1 and 2 are very good movies. Like, you hear Shrek, and it's kind of like...
Oh, wow.
Really?
Okay.
Like, it's just a... Like,
We
whatever.
get it.
Yeah. No, that's a very, very interesting pick, and wow.
Yeah, maybe I'm gonna fight for that one to be in my top 5.
That's all right. Yeah. Of course. But all right, yeah. Shrek 2 is your number 7.
Shrek 2 is my number 7. Where does that leave us on your list?
For number 7, for me, it is a Christopher Nolan film.
Ooh.
It is one of his earlier ones. I picked The Prestige.
The Prestige.
The Prestige is specific acts in a magician's act.
Every magic act has 3 steps.
Our fantastic Michael Caine impressions.
Michael Caine. Please don't listen to the podcast.
We love you. For those of you who don't know what The Prestige is about, it's a very simple concept. It is 2 people, 2 magicians that have kind of, trained under the same, mentor, if you will.
Being Michael Caine.
Start kind of getting bigger and bigger with their egos. They both... It's just a battle of who can top the other for most of the movie.
Oh, right. Just one big pissing contest.
Exactly. Until it gets to the point where people get hurt or die. And that's when the movie just gets insane. You have these, first off, the cast. The 3 main people being Michael Caine, Hugh Jackman, and Christian Bale. That
really
is
big stars.
Fantastic actors. All 3 of them. All 3 of them, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, have won Oscars. I know Michael Caine has won an Oscar. I know Christian Bale, I'm pretty sure, has, or at least has been nominated.
Definitely at least been nominated.
And then, didn't Hugh Jackman win one for, what was it? It was,
Logan?
No, I don't think he won one for Logan. I could be wrong. But at least they have been nominated.
Yeah, and they're very
Oscars,
well-respected actors.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's always the funny thing, too, is because, Oscars sometimes don't mean anything, because, look at DiCaprio.
Right.
How many performances have been, Oscar-worthy, and he doesn't even really get a mention, or just gets a nom.
Right, he's still rocking it with just 1 Oscar.
Exactly.
That's fine.
Whatever.
But anyway, big headline cast.
Yeah, it's a fantastic cast, and it's also easy to forget that, Scarlett Johansson's also in this movie as well for a significant amount of time. And David Bowie as Nikola Tesla, and then Andy Serkis as his assistant.
Yep.
And I really liked Bowie's performance too. The only other movie I've seen him in was Labyrinth.
Oh my god.
Which is a completely different performance.
Opposite end of the
spectrum.
spectrum.
you got the Goblin King and the Bowie Bulge. If anyone's seen the Labyrinth, of course everyone knows what I'm talking about. But then this one, he was a well-mannered, kind of mysterious man, because it was during the what would you really call that time period, the light race, if you will, where it was
yeah,
I know Edison and Tesla were fighting to kind of get on top and kind of revolutionize electricity and all that stuff.
It was pre-industry.
Yes. So I thought it was really cool in the whole movie where it starts getting a little bit more, I'd almost say science fiction-ish towards the end.
It switches from the 2 main magicians. They're both trying to get their magic better. And in this world, it's considered that magic, which I'm putting in air quotes, exists, right?
Yeah.
And Nikola Tesla isn't a scientist; he's just a better magician than they are.
Yeah.
I remember them explaining it that way. Am I right?
Yeah, because he developed a bunch of arc streams, kind of like what you see in a gift shop, the electric ball.
Yeah.
All the electricity moving, all
they
that
made
stuff.
The Tesla coils.
Yes, that was what I was thinking of, the Tesla coils. Which, wow, is literally amazing. But no, Hugh Jackman, both of them start driving their, love interest away from them because they both are so power hungry. And just to top the other one, there are multiple scenes in the movie where both of them will disguise as random people and then, go up to the act and sabotage their act.
Right. Right.
And it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it's just... It comes to the point where,
they're just attempting murder.
At this point, and then all of a sudden, it's comes to the point where someone does die. It's good God. Yeah. And then at the end of the movie, you're sitting there wow, that was, Like the ending especially is wild.
I know Brendan and I are dancing around the bush here, but we
it's
really can't
hard.
tell you what happens at the end of this movie.
The unfortunate thing with throwing this movie on the list, and I knew this going in, was like, I can literally explain a bare bones synopsis of this movie, and I can't really justify why I like it so much without spoiling it.
We promise we know what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can't spoil this movie here.
So good. So that is my number 7 pick. It is Christopher Nolan's Prestige.
Christopher Nolan's The Prestige. Absolutely go watch that movie if you have not seen it.
Fantastic. So what is your number 8?
My number 8. My number 8. Shin Godzilla.
That's one of the newer ones, correct?
It is one of the newer ones. It is the 2016 Japanese remake of the original Godzilla.
Yes.
And I saw this one with one of my friends while I was at college, and I had never seen... This was the first Godzilla movie that I had seen.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And,
interesting.
And I really fell in love with it. Because then I went on to go and watch the original Godzilla, and I watched... Or, well, you know what? I guess it wasn't the first Godzilla movie I saw, because we saw Godzilla King of the Monsters.
But that was only 2 years ago, though.
That was 2 years ago.
When did you see Shin Godzilla? Because it did come out in 2016.
I think I only saw it a year ago.
Oh, so you ended up seeing King of the Monsters before
I did,
Shin Godzilla.
Yeah.
Okay. And you liked this one more than King of the Monsters?
I liked this one more than King of the Monsters.
Interesting. Okay.
I didn't like this one, or maybe I liked this one more so on the same level of Kong Skull Island, though. Like, that one...
Okay.
Kong Skull Island was fantastic. But Shin Godzilla really hits all the major parts to me of like a great remake.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna remake something, then you gotta have a good reason. Godzilla was a cultural icon for Japan, and they really brought it into like this new century of filmmaking because it's completely colorized. It looks beautiful. All of the special effects are done in such a way that it looks real, I guess you could say. As far so as a giant lizard attacking Tokyo could look real, it really does. All of the monsters' evolutions look a lot like from a kabuki theater type thing. So
yeah.
it's clearly I don't want to say an animatronic, but like it's clearly fake.
But it doesn't take you out.
It doesn't take you out.
Similar to like Jaws.
Like Jaws, absolutely. The monster still looks phenomenal, and it has all of these moving parts and mechanisms that make it look alive and real.
Okay.
That you don't need the movie magic for. And then also they added this this cultural impact of, in Japan, they have a really big deal about like businesses and everything like that, and the government being kind of stupid in Japan. And so the way that it's represented in Shin Godzilla 2016 is that they have the government trying to combat this lizard, and they're just doing a bad job. Like, people are dying left and right.
Yeah, it's kind of like a collateral damage.
It's awful collateral damage. The government can't do a single thing right. Like, they're just doing stupid things. And the movie frames it that way. And so I just really have to appreciate... Because they don't just come out and say, like, our government is stupid. It's the way that they film it. It's the way that they do really quick cuts between, like, the government's in this room, all sitting around a table deliberating, right? And then Shin Godzilla attacks, and they're like, oh, no, now we have to go move to this room and talk about it in this secret room and discuss the nuclear codes. And it's like, you guys aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
He's out there killing people. You guys are just being safe in here.
So is the movie more of like, because I mean, Godzilla has always been like the focal point of almost every Godzilla movie. That's why people love it so much. It's because you go to see him kick ass. So is Shin Godzilla more of a focus on the people more than the monster? Or like focus on how we would react against a monster and having him just kind of be the I don't really know, like kind of just the focal point or sorry, the driving force for these people's reactions type deal? Is that kind of what it is? Or is it just a Godzilla movie with just added character depth?
I think it might just be a Godzilla movie with added character depth. It does really, really focus on the humans for some parts of it.
Okay.
But that, like, they don't take any time away from the crazy destruction that Godzilla causes.
Okay.
But it's not Godzilla fighting with any other beasts. So, in that, I have to say, I guess it's equal parts a story about the Japanese people and how they combat this and how they beat Godzilla as much as it is about Godzilla just being awesome.
Okay. So it does sound like the 2014 Godzilla. It sounds the one with Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
They almost seem, based on what you're telling me, of course,
quite similar.
Similar. And I don't see that as a bad thing, because I love 2014 Godzilla. But that's interesting, because I haven't seen Shin Godzilla, so you've piqued my interest, to say the least, because usually I stay away from the... I don't know if I should be putting this in the podcast. Somebody be like crucified, because I'm still one of the people who thinks that Roland Emmerich's '98 Godzilla isn't awful. I know.
My.
Bated breath. Like, he just said the thing. Yeah. But no, that's interesting. I kind of want to actually watch that. All right.
I think we should.
I have no problem with that. That's a good pick. I like that.
Thank you very much.
So my
Tell
number.
me about yours.
So my number 8 is a movie that I feel like if it wasn't on here, I would be lying to myself and I would be lying to the listeners of Take 47, and I feel like that is completely unfair.
Don't hold back, baby.
Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel.
God damn it.
What?
That was mine.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Grand Budapest Hotel. I have a, like, it's so funny because I have a bit of a backstory when it comes to this one, because this is the movie that I became aware of Wes Anderson.
Oh, really?
I saw, like, so years after it came out, because correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say it came out in like 2014, something like that.
Either that or also 2016.
Yeah. About a year or so after it came out, I ended up, like, I saw a lot about it. It was mentioned in the Oscars, and at the time I was like, what is this stupid, fake-looking, like, super colorful movie doing here?
Dollhouse.
Yeah, like, and then I watched it. And I don't know what made me watch it. I literally just, I was sick from school, and I saw it on demand, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch it.
Give it a shot.
For no reason at all. There was no, like, driving force, because I didn't want to see it, but I saw it, and was like, alright, sure. And I ended up loving the movie.
Wow.
To the point where I watched it about 2 or 3 more times.
What a turnaround.
It's so weird. The movie, first off, I mean, it's Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson's weird.
Yeah,
and
he has a very unique style.
That's literally probably one of the main reasons I love this movie so much, is because it was one of the first movies I've seen where it isn't a traditional film. It is a very weird dollhouse, as you said, looking movie. The humor is awkward. Everyone's, like, acting is awkward, but it's not bad by any means. It's fantastic. That's the whole point.
It's just different.
It is, and that's what that's what made me so interested in the whole movie. Every single moment is so unique, and it's almost like you can, in certain movies, it's like specific scenes that you remember. For example, like, I know, I remember the movie inside and out, but for, like, the average movie viewer, like Jaws, you remember the opening scene, you remember everything on the boat, I'm sure, and then probably the shark attack on the beach that kills the kid on the yellow raft, on the yellow floaty. That's probably what you remember, those, like, the key moments.
Sure.
However, in a movie like this, you literally remember every single scene, because every single scene is a very unique scene. Every scene deserves your attention. And Wes Anderson does this thing where it's always filmed in these really, really weird ways. And as you said, again, like a dollhouse, where it's like, the camera sits in one shot and everyone will just be doing their thing. And Ralph Fiennes as the hotel's
concierge?
Yes, concierge, thank you. Is fantastic. He is so funny. His delivery, it made me respect him so much more, because I only knew him as Voldemort.
Yeah.
Which obviously is fantastic as well, but seeing this in such a goofy way, it is hilarious.
You gotta wonder if the comedy was him or the writing.
Honestly, I probably would just say a little bit of both, honestly.
Bit of both?
Because I think Ralph Fiennes is, and if anyone has seen the film In Bruges, you would notice that he is very, very good at delivering dialogue in an awkward way, awkward enough where it's funny.
So
it's
that
weird.
makes him perfect for a Wes Anderson movie.
Oh, absolutely. And like this whole movie, it's made by a fruitcake. The people in the movie are fruitcakes.
Yes.
The actors are all fruitcakes. You have Ralph Fiennes, you have Bill Murray, Adrian Brody, Willem Dafoe, which basically the whole movie, if I remember correctly, doesn't say like anything, or at least says like one thing.
Oh yeah, he's not a big character.
No.
Willem Dafoe.
One of the main things he does is he throws a cat out the window. Jeff Goldblum, speaking of which, Jeff Goldblum. Like, you got all these weird people, and it's like, all of it works. Wes Anderson manages to just throw all these whack jobs in a room and goes...
And Zero, Tony Revolori was...
Who is Flash Thompson.
Yeah,
and,
he was... This was his debut, right?
If I remember correctly, it is.
And that blew me away.
Yeah, he's awesome. Zero's great.
Sure. The Hollywood stars are great. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't surprised that, great actors being great.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Continue being great. Dang, they got the new guy in there, and even he is blowing me away. That's how you know everyone's working together.
I agree. It wasn't a situation where he was being out-acted
Not at
by
all.
everyone, and he has very few lines. But
he doesn't really talk that much.
But that's good though. Like everything just fits perfectly. The score by and I always mess up his name. It's French. I don't know how to pronounce it. Alexander Desplat or Desplat. I don't know how you say it. But I love him. He's
we
a
don't
fantastic,
know, but we appreciate you.
Fantastic composer. He's been in so many movies that I genuinely love, and his score in this one is fantastic as well. This movie is what got me into Wes Anderson in the first place, and since then I've been a massive fan, and I'm looking forward to his next one whenever that comes out. I know it is still in post-production, so definitely looking out for that one. So yes, that is the number 8 pick for me. It is Wes Anderson's Budapest Hotel.
I guess that would be mine as well.
Yeah. Nice.
I feel like I don't really need to say that much more about this movie other than, like, obviously I needed to put a Wes Anderson movie on my list because of how much I love them. But out of all of the ones that I've seen, it was really a tie between this one and
What, Royal Tenenbaums?
no, gosh, what's the one?
Mr. Fox.
No, wow, why am I forgetting this right now?
Isle of Dogs?
The one where Bill Murray's on the boat. The Aquatic Life. The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Yeah.
That one, I think, was the rival, just because I love Bill Murray so much as well.
Yeah, Bill Murray's fantastic.
And then I said, well, I have Groundhog Day on the list. Better go with my, if I need to make a tiebreaker, Budapest Hotel wins.
Yeah. So now we are on the final two.
Final two.
This is the final two. What is your number 9 pick?
Actually, this is my number 10 because Budapest Hotel was my
Right.
my number 9. So here we are. Thor Ragnarok.
Really?
Thor Ragnarok. I love Thor Ragnarok. That is the best Marvel movie, in my opinion. They don't have to make another Marvel movie. They don't have to make any more. Thor Ragnarok is enough for the past, present, and future, baby. That's all I'm saying. Taika Waititi wrote that script, and he imbued his love, his affection, his very human soul in those pages, and he gave it to the actors, and you know what they all said? They said, Taika, we got you. We got you, man. And they delivered!
They did.
God, there is not a second of that movie that I am not laughing my ass off.
Yeah, that's a very, very, very accurate statement.
And it just brings the whole... The Thor trilogy was such a disappointment in that moment because Iron Man blowing it out of the park Captain America blowing it out of the park. Thor, Dark World kind of sucks.
Even the first one sucks.
Even the first one kind of sucks. Thor Ragnarok comes along, bam! Genre defining. Bam! Who even knows who Captain America is anymore? Bam!
Thor is now a favorite.
Thor's now a favorite. That was the movie.
Yep.
That did it.
That's a valid point. Because up to that point, Thor was kind of just there. He had 2 garbage movies.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even see it in the theaters because I was
Ragnarok?
Ragnarok. I convinced myself
I
it was
didn't
going
see
to be
it
bad.
either. I didn't see it either.
And then when I finally did see it, I was like, what? This was here the whole time?
Yeah.
People are funny? What?
I think what's even crazier is, like, I love how Taika was like, yeah, I'll just show up, do it, and then, like...
yeah, I'll do it.
now, all of a sudden, he's now tied to Star Wars.
Yeah.
He's now tied to Marvel even more. He's directing the next Thor.
Yes.
He's also a character, Korg.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he's got all these other projects lining up. This movie is what I think made Taika Waititi a household name.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he was around for like What We Do in the Shadows and all that stuff. This is the movie that definitely threw him into this massive spotlight, and everyone was like, "Who is this guy? I need more of him."
And you know what else I really like about Thor Ragnarok
Mm-hmm.
is that yes, it fits into this massive timeline
Mm-hmm.
that Marvel is trying to create. But if you just showed someone Thor Ragnarok, they wouldn't have had to see The Dark World. They wouldn't have had to see Thor 1
Mm-hmm.
to still enjoy that movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like it's just good for everyone all around.
Yeah.
Anyone can find a scene in that movie to enjoy.
Yeah, no.
And you can't say that about everything.
No, you cannot. Some of the movies on... no, not... Oh, I guess kind of hinted at my own list. My own final 2. But some of them, the movies that I'm about to bring up, you really can't watch one and then fully, be like, yeah, I understand. Thor Ragnarok is absolutely a completely different case.
Mm-hmm.
And it you can tell that it is actually going to be a fun ride right in the first scene. The first scene with him being tied up in... I forget the name of the demon or whatever.
Surtur.
Yes. Sartor? Something like that?
Something like that.
But all
not
of a sudden
Satan,
you hear...
it sounds like.
No. But all of a sudden you hear Led Zeppelin and Thor's kicking ass and you're like, whoa, okay. Where the hell did this come from?
Yeah.
Like, hang on. This is a Thor movie? Yeah, and once again you have Jeff Goldblum, and then he's been in like 3 of our movies on this list.
You know who else I always forget is in that movie is, oh, crud. Billy Butcher.
Oh, Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, thank
Yep.
you. I always forget that
He's
Carl
also
Urban's
in the Star... Oh, no. He's in the newer Star Trek ones.
newer Star Trek.
Yes.
But right when I see him as the new gatekeeper, I'm like, oh my gosh, there he is.
Billy
It's the
Butcher.
guy, Billy Butcher. It's
Yeah.
him. And that's just a little fun Easter egg for me. I mean,
Yeah.
Carl Urban, you're great. I think you're great. But like, man, sometimes I can't recognize you right off the bat.
It's wild. He has all these different looks. That is a really good pick, though. Because Thor Ragnarok is my second favorite Marvel movie.
Really?
Yeah.
First being
Infinity War. It's those two, and I mean Ragnarok segues into Infinity War. So it's
right,
like,
almost seamlessly.
Basically, yeah, exactly. So very, very good pick.
Thank you very much.
That's a very, very good list.
That closes mine off.
Yeah. So now I got 2.
Now you got 2.
Yeah. So my my next pick. I do feel like I'm kind of cheating because it is another director that I've also mentioned again, but at the same time, his work is so vast and just, I don't know, it's all unique every time that I feel like it's understandable.
Yeah.
And it's also my list. Deal with it. Saving Private Ryan. So this movie is this movie's mad depressing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's considered one of the most accurate depictions of World War II of all time, and most accurate war movie of all time.
Rivaled only by like what, Dunkirk now?
Dunkirk or like Hacksaw Ridge or something like that. And it's so funny because the best way to explain or to be like is that true? Like, how accurate is it? My grandfather, who was in Nam, refuses to watch this movie.
To this day?
Yeah, he can't watch it. And if it bothers veterans that much, you're doing something right in a slightly messed up way.
Yeah, no, that sounds wrong. We're not trying.
No,
don't give your grandpa PTSD.
Yeah, that's not what we're saying at all. I'm just saying if you're going for a war movie and you're going for the realistic horror of war in general, you're doing something right. That's in the right direction. I actually want to point out one specific scene that I just found out recently. To just show how in-depth Spielberg was. So when they're done marching on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, and they rush the bunkers because the Germans run out of ammo in the bunkers. The reason why this movie is so fantastic and beats all other war movies, despite the how historically accurate it is, it doesn't depict the Americans as these fantastic saviors as some war movies do.
There's a lot of war movies.
It shows both sides did some really messed up shit to the other. There are these two German soldiers that have their hands up and they're speaking German, and there's no subtitles, and the Americans are walking up to them.
Okay.
And it's just two soldiers, and they're like, "What? What are you saying? What are you saying?" Obviously not listening.
Yeah.
And they're pleading, they're freaking, they're basically on their knees. And he's like, "Sorry, I can't understand what you're saying," and just guns them down.
Ooh.
Anyone who actually knows the language, they weren't German. They were Czech.
Oh,
Czech Republic
no.
was taken over by Germany.
Yeah.
And they were conscripted into the war. And in the subtitles, or if someone, I want to say someone translated the subtitles, and it was, if I remember correctly, it was "Don't shoot, I didn't kill anyone, I'm not even German, I'm Czech," and like they keep screaming it over and over again. And they still mercilessly killed them because they didn't understand it. They didn't understand the languages.
My jaw is actually dropped right now.
I did not know that. So brutal. I didn't know that.
Detail.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is, it's not referenced ever again. It's not. There's no subtitles pointing to how rough that is. I mean,
That's the standard. Like, you have to figure that out.
To the standard moviegoer, it's these scummy Germans that were just murdering a bunch of American soldiers and British soldiers, all on the beaches of Normandy. They're just getting gunned down because it's like, "Oh, we surrender," like, "Oh, now you surrender," like type thing. But in reality, it's both sides were messed up, and it's awful.
Yeah.
Because I mean, war is bad, and
war is bad.
Very simply, yeah.
We believe war is bad.
And aside from that, I mean, it's everything feels so raw, and I want to show this movie on one of our movie nights at some point, because like we all loved Dunkirk in 1917,
definitely,
but like Saving Private Ryan, every like gunshot you hear, every scream, every action that is displayed in the movie, it's mortifying. Like there are just scenes that even like talking about it now, I get kind of like choked up because like it's so raw. It's so raw. There's no like music during the D-Day invasion. There's no heroic like courage, honor, and all that stuff. It's hell.
It shows you.
All you hear is screaming and gunshots and explosions, and there are people that are afraid to even move forward to push the front line. There are people. I mean, there are a couple of times like Tom Hanks. And that's another thing too. The movie's so raw that you kind of forget the star power that's in this movie. You have Tom Hanks. You have Matt Damon.
Yeah.
You have Vin Diesel. Like all these actors from different
walks of
life. Yeah, and you just don't watch the movie because it's got Tom Hanks. No, this movie's different. This isn't no Toy Story or Big or anything like that.
Not a feel good movie.
No, and this movie at the end, like you're sitting there and if you don't cry at the end of this movie or at any point in this movie, I don't know how, because this movie like gets me teary-eyed. It gets me like welled up. There's this feeling in my chest. It's like it's such a fantastic movie, and I think Spielberg nailed it out of the park. This one is probably for me in his like top 3 movies of all time.
It's really hard to believe it lost the Oscar.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't even... it is insane. Like, honestly. Definitely check Saving Private Ryan out if you haven't. I know some people, and I saw this working at the movie theater.
Yeah.
Not a lot of younger people want to see war movies. I don't know why. I guess it's too boring, maybe, or just because it's history or something like that.
I feel like it's just been oversaturated lately.
But that's a good point too. Is there's a lot of these World War II movies that all of them are like, yeah, you know, courage and honor and you know, brotherhood and bravery and all that stuff. But this was one of the originals.
Yeah.
This was the one that
started a trend.
This is the one that almost every single Call of Duty and every single World War II game has copied something out of this movie.
So it really set a lot of trends.
Absolutely. This is the movie that most FPSs that were World War II, I mean, in the early 2000s up till like 2010, are all inspired by. Like this is the movie.
That's
remarkable. It's incredibly influential, but I absolutely think that this movie is fantastic, and I highly recommend that you guys watch it. Now, the final pick for me.
Final pick. Here
which
we
is
go.
Really obvious for anyone who knows me at all. 'Cause I haven't mentioned any of it. Like I haven't mentioned this trilogy at all.
Yep.
It's Lord of the Rings.
There it is.
I mean, come on. Honestly, if you didn't hear me like talk about it on the list last episode, what made you think I wasn't going to talk about it in this episode?
Brendan likes to yell at me once every time he sees me just because I haven't actually seen the movies.
Yeah. And that's a problem.
I've read the books. Don't
there you go.
kill me.
That's okay.
I have some defense here.
But I also have to clarify too. It is not the theatrical releases of Lord of the Rings. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, no.
Those are obviously still fantastic, and I still absolutely love them. However, the extended edition of all 3 movies is an absolute masterpiece.
Journey.
I can't stress it enough. Do you need to plan a day to watch all 3? Yeah. It's a solid 12 hours.
Jeez.
It is 12 hours.
It really is the whole journey.
Absolutely. Of fantastic action sequences. Gorgeous, sweeping helicopter shots of fantastic landscapes of New Zealand. Brilliant acting from all these incredibly well-known actors nowadays. Some of them weren't known
Ian
as
McKellen
much.
was big.
Ian McKellen was big. I know Viggo Mortensen was pretty decent. I mean, this was Orlando Bloom's first movie.
Yes.
And, like,
wow.
It launched him into Pirates of the Caribbean. He was a very, very big actor, and even now he still is.
Yeah. I don't think it was Elijah Wood's first, but it was definitely
no, it was definitely not, because he played Tom Sawyer. Or,
yeah.
In one of another adaptation.
Yeah.
Either that or Huck Finn. He played one of them. But no, this movie, aside from the star power that is in it, it made fantasy cool. This is the movie
that made fantasy cool.
Well, because when you think about it, before then, it's kind of like the whole Stranger Things vibe, where it's like Dungeons and Dragons. You're chilling in your mom's basement.
Kind of a nerd.
It's a nerdy thing. Yeah. Star Wars kind of made that situation even worse. And then all of a sudden, this movie comes out of nowhere. This trilogy comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, it's the third one sweeps the Oscars. How does a fantasy movie do that?
Yeah.
A movie that's all about wizards, dragons, little mini people, and then even smaller people, and a bunch of nasty monsters that are trying to take out all the good guys. Like, it is a very classic tale of good and evil, and it's as nerdy as they come, and it still swept the Oscars. How is this movie capable of doing that? Because of the power behind the camera, just as much as the front.
Do you think it's all thanks to the director? Peter Jackson? The
amount of pre-production that went into this movie, to even set it up in the first place, for it to even be allowed to even start filming in the first place.
Yeah.
The fact that all the armor pieces are real. I mean, for God's sake, Viggo Mortensen was using a real sword most of the time because he didn't want to use a fake one.
Yeah, wasn't there, like, real fighting?
Yeah.
Like, the cast
That's
just
the best part.
brawled with each other.
When you look at even the Hobbits. When you look at the Hobbits, it is almost all CGI.
Yeah.
You know immediately in Lord of the Rings that 99% of it is real. All those landscapes, real. The fighting, the choreography, the costumes, all of it's real, and that's the best part. Like,
and it was filmed in the hills of New Zealand, right?
Absolutely. It for God's sake, they were taking helicopters to go up the mountains. And also, fun fact: Sean Bean in the first movie is very afraid of helicopters, so he just walked up the mountain in a Boromir costume to get to the set. He hated helicopters.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so
that's such a fun fact.
He just walked up in full Boromir costume, like shield, sword, whole 9 yards. It's fantastic.
That must have been some good time to like practice your character.
Yeah,
you know? I have to actually hike a mountain.
That's quite immersive, honestly. But all these crazy things aside, I'm gonna have to try and like regulate myself from nerding out for the next like 5 hours explaining why this movie trilogy is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is just beautifully shot. The dialogue isn't extremely like confusing where it's like, oh, we must go to, I don't know, like throwing out some like fantasy names just to throw out fantasy names, you know what I mean?
Right. It doesn't feel like they're speaking in tongues. It feels like they're speaking in English to
Yes, he manages to simplify J.R.R. Tolkien's books into a script where normal moviegoers can understand it and then become a very like big fan of the world. He didn't make the world, daunting to look at, and then all of a sudden you're kind of just like, I don't really want to watch it because I'm gonna be mad confused.
Right, it's bright, it's beautiful, and it's easy to follow along the journey with.
Yep, it is so easy to follow, and it's only amplified. The journey is only amplified by the fantastic, of course, scenery, like I said, the directing, the dialogue, and the characters. It is an absolutely heartwarming movie trilogy. When you make it to the end, you feel like you were on that journey with all the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel just as relieved as they are that it's over. And that's a good thing. It's not like a thank God. Jesus, it's 12 hours long, even though that might be a little bit of
you might feel a little bit.
Even for a super fan, you're like, that was fantastic, but my God. 12 hours. But like, it's fantastic. I mean, the score from Howard Shore is iconic. Everyone knows at least one piece of soundtrack from The Lord of the Rings. Everyone knows at least one line from Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
Everyone knows at least one character from Lord of the Rings. It is an incredibly iconic movie trilogy, and it's incredibly influential. I'd honestly even argue that this was probably one of the movies that kind of allowed, like Marvel and stuff. It kind of paved the way for Marvel.
You're saying that Lord of the Rings walked so Marvel could run?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Honestly. Because, I mean...
Interesting.
Because when you look at it, we didn't really have any, like... Other than Star Wars, we didn't have any wild things like this that were as, like, socially accepted, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, at that time period, I mean, with everyone... Which is so weird to say, because it was only, like, 20 years ago. But, like, at that time period... all of a sudden it was like, whoa, okay, you're telling me this wild fantasy movie, like I said, just sweeps the Oscars? Okay. So people
weird.
Yeah, people aren't opposed to going to completely different worlds and following these wild characters. I mean, okay, I think we have something here. And I definitely think that was one of the pillars that made Marvel as big as it is now. I could be completely wrong, but from my perspective, it just makes sense to me.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I think that you're right, that like the fantasy aspect of Lord of the Rings paved the way to people appreciating the fantasy and superheroes.
Yes.
But it's interesting to know that the Lord of the Rings trilogy is like appreciated for being completely practical.
Yes.
Whereas all the Marvel movies are beloved for being almost all CGI.
Yes.
And so that's just a really fun
It is a very fun thing to look at, because it's like, I don't know, their CGI isn't glossy looking. It's very real.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also what's fantastic about Lord of the Rings, is that it's filmed gritty. It's gritty when it needs to be. It's colorful when it needs to be as well. But when there's like wild moments, because obviously New Zealand doesn't actually have giant cities made of just gorgeous white marble, and
that would be quite the sight.
It would be quite the sight. But the CGI is like dark and blended enough to the point where it feels like it literally it belongs there. Where Marvel is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you look at movies like the prequels of Star Wars and The Hobbit, you can clearly tell it's CGI because it's kind of glossy. It's almost like a dream type thing. It's like dreamy CGI instead of it being realistic CGI. But I absolutely I had to throw the Lord of the Rings trilogy in there because I couldn't pick one of them.
No, and it is just one movie that tells
it is.
The story.
It absolutely
it's
is.
It's just one big long epic.
Yeah, I can't show someone Return of the King and then they wouldn't have the same reaction I would when it's over.
You need all three parts.
Exactly. You need to understand. You need to sit down and watch all 12 hours of this fantastic trilogy to even understand emotionally the ending of the third one. It is fantastic. The movies are still, even now, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, it's a little outdated. No. This movie is still considered, this trilogy is still considered one of the best movies of all time.
Well, then I have my work cut out for me.
Yeah. I'm going to be fighting tooth and nail to make sure at least the trilogy's on that list. At least. But, that'll be a very exciting episode for next week.
Yes, a discussion for our next episode of Take 47.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Take 47.
We appreciate your view, as always.
As always. And we have, of course, the last part. If you guys missed that part, I don't know why you would jump to this one, but, hey, you do you.
Yeah, catch yourselves up.
Yeah, we also have a bunch of other ones as well, talking about actors we like, talking about concepts of, what ifs and all that stuff. So, by all means, jump right in and Take 47, and we hope that you are with us on the next episode. Peace out, guys.
Later.